All right, welcome. Very excited to have today with us Lisa Levinson and Judy Carman of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition. Welcome.
Well,
Hi,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank you so much for having us, Deborah. It's really a treat.
I'm excited to talk to the two of you about the work you're doing. So Lisa Levinson and Judy Carman are co-founders of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition. And today they're going to share with us about the work that they're doing through the coalition to help activists and spiritual leaders bring vegan values to spiritual, ethical, and religious communities. They're going to be sharing with us a lot of the work they do, the faith-based advocacy projects that they've got going on. And I'm not going to even mention what those are because I'm going to let you guys mention that. So let me just read to you a little bit about their bios and where they've been, because I'm reading your bios. I was really impressed with just how much you all have done. And I know you've got some amazing groups on Facebook and a pretty big community that is joined with you in the work that you're doing, and a lot of support and following there. So Lisa Levinson directs In Defense of Animals Sustainable Activism Campaign, offering emotional and spiritual resources for animal activists. She founded Vegan Spirituality to explore veganism and as a spiritual practice via monthly gatherings and retreats. She co-founded the Interfaith Vegan Coalition to provide faith-based vegan advocacy, foods, and public eye, artists for animals, to teach compassion for animals through the arts. So let me say that a little bit more clearly. Faith-based vegan advocacy tools and public eye, artists for animals, which teaches compassion for animals through the arts. Judy Carman has been an activist for peace, the environment, and animal liberation since the 70s. Judy is the author of Peace to All Beings, Veggie Soup for the Chicken's Soul, and co-author with Tina Volpe, am I saying her name correctly? Volpe, excuse me, of The Missing Peace, P-E-A-C-E, The Hidden Power of Our Kinship with Animals. In Peace to All Beings, Judy introduced the concept of homo ahimsa. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word for nonviolence and loving kindness, to describe the new compassionate human we will become if enough of humanity awakens in time. Judy co-founded with Will and Madeline Tuttle, who, if you've been around with me for a while, I've interviewed Will Tuttle a couple of times, and that's been a blast. She co-founded with them the Worldwide Prayer Circle for Animals. You can register your name if you would like to be a part of this worldwide prayer circle and sign up to receive the daily inspirations from Will and weekly prayers from Judy. The prayer circle also hosts a Facebook page where people can share concerns about their own animals as well as local and global animal issues. Now, Judy, of course, co-founded with vegan spirituality events and webinars featuring vegan spiritual leaders, co-founded the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, a project in defense of animals. And Judy is also the 2014 recipient of the Henry Spira Grassroots Animal Activist Award and founder of the Animal Peace Prayer Flag Project, which can be found on her Peace to All Beings website. So you women have been very busy with all that you have done. And first, thank you for all you've done for our animal friends, and I know you do it from a place of love and compassion and true caring for the animals and for our planet. So
thanks, Deborah.
Yes, thank you. Can you start out by telling us what inspired you to really hone in on the Interfaith Vegan Coalition as your form of advocacy?
Well, I'll start with that one. I actually had a phone call in defense of animals. We run a support line for activists, which offers emotional and spiritual tools for animal activists. For those of you who don't know it, the phone number there is 800-705-0425. And people call all the time. And so we had a gentleman call who was an IDA supporter, and we had a long conversation, and he was sharing about how important it was to move the vegan message forward in the world playing field here. So he was telling me about how important the religious factors are, and that we really need to engage the spiritual people in order to make veganism actually manifest as one of our primary modes of living and being in the world. So I took his message to heart and thought, wow, how could we do this? How could we get all of these different groups together that are all working independently to unite with this common message of veganism as the common ground between all different faiths? And so I thought about that. I had that in the back of my mind. And meanwhile, there were other events going on, and we had, Judy and I were putting together our vegan spirituality online gatherings where we explore veganism as a spiritual practice. And we've been doing that, and I've been hosting retreats, and we thought, maybe this would be good to put all of it together and to try to engage people of faith and really provide some tools for people who want to do advocacy within their places of worship. So there's more to it, and I'll let Judy share a little more.
Yeah, about the same time, Thomas Jackson was working on his film, Prayer for Compassion, which hopefully all of you have seen. And if you haven't, it's on Vimeo, so you can watch it online and also share it because it's just an amazing film. And what he's done is he's gone around the world and interviewed spiritual teachers and leaders who are vegan, and gotten their take on that for the different religions, and to show how that links all religions together, really, all faiths, that basic concept of, well, the golden rule for all creatures. And that just by aligning your true faith beliefs with your actions, you got to go vegan. So that's in the film. And so we're talking to Thomas, and it all kind of gelled because we realized, oh my goodness, that film's going to be a perfect tool for everybody to use in their different places of worship. And so I guess we kind of launched it at the Animal Rights Conference about 3 years ago. And Thomas was there, and everybody that came to hear the ideas and share their ideas. It was a very exciting time. And so we took it from there. We had a list of members to start out with from that meeting. And we started collecting or creating, I guess, what we're calling kits that people can use to take to their places of worship. And we've got quite a few now. I think we have 14 different religions represented in the kits. And you can go to Interfaith Vegan Coalition.org, and then you can just click on the Advocacy Kit section, and you'll see what we've got.
Excellent. Now it appears that Lisa, while you were talking, my internet hung. And I hope that it kept going on Facebook. We are live on Facebook.
Yes. I think it was.
Okay, good. We're live now. I don't know if there was a glitch in what came through. Unfortunately, I didn't hear your answers. I just now heard when Judy was coming back on, so I apologize for that. I don't want to make you repeat the answer.
Oh no, that's fine. I think Judy really said it all.
Okay, I just heard the part about the advocacy kits for the different religions, 14 different religions, and that's an amazing body of work that you've put together there.
Yeah, it's so excellent. Each kit has, well, we had different people from the different religions help us do the kits. And so some of them are arranged a little differently than others. For example, the Jain kits are different from the Christian kits because the Jains are already vegetarian and getting ready to eliminate dairy as they learn more about it. So there's not as much work for them to do. But so we have like the basic arrangement, I guess, is we have quotes that they can use that relate to their specific religion that also talk about animals, reverence for all life and that sort of thing. And then we have rituals that they could do, songs, poems, lots of websites, films that they can show. And then kind of the icing on the cake now, that something we're really working on now, is to help people who make a decision to do this, to go into their places of worship and really make an effort to veganize the place and help everyone understand how that aligns with their traditional beliefs of kindness. And what we're doing now is working on creating a structure for compassionate living circles, so that they could say to their minister, for example, let's form a compassionate living circle, and then we would help them with that. And no matter which faith it would be, we would help them with the structure of that, and how often they would meet and what they would talk about and how they might interface with the rest of the church or temple or wherever they are.
Beautiful. That's beautiful work you're doing. So, yeah. So now, your role within the broader animal rights movement, like, how do you see yourself in terms of, interplay with the larger movement of animal rights?
Well, I'll answer that one, or at least start the answer.
Okay.
So many people in the animal rights movement know and remember well Tom Regan, who was such a fabulous advocate and animal rights philosopher. And he had a quote that has been used by many of us who do faith-based activism, which was that we had to wake the sleeping giant of religion. So that's really our goal together as a coalition, all of our different members, including Jewish Veg, Dharma Voices for Animals, the Christian Vegetarian Association. They're all part of our Interfaith Vegan Coalition, and we're all working together to do that. Now that we've formed a coalition, we can have initiatives and actually be more effective with that goal. So that's our initial goal, is to really wake up this sleeping giant, because so many of the world's people are very invested in religion. Now, maybe in our animal rights movement, not as much. We have more agnostics. We have people who are atheists in the community, but traveling around the world, you may find that there are so many people that their whole life is wrapped around their religion, whether you visit Myanmar or Thailand or, Jamaica, different places around the world, many people who put the faith as their priority. And so we want to address that and really try to promote veganism to everyone in the world. And one way we can do that is through this approach. And we do have an important role in the animal rights movement. We may go about things differently. We might have different strategies, but we're here to be that voice of kindness and compassion, and to bring people back to alignment within their own faith-based tradition with compassion for all beings.
Yeah, beautiful.
A good example of that is what Lisa in Defense of Animals did recently by writing a letter to, it was a church somewhere that was sponsoring hunting, right? It was, I don't remember all the details, but anyway, so the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, because we have this broad support base from all these different religions, we could send this letter, and of course, In Defense of Animals is helping us so much with that, to make a statement, a big statement to this church, and making hunting part of your church activities is not in alignment with, that was a Christian church. That is not what Jesus would do. So we wouldn't say it like that, but in the letter, we addressed how this was out of alignment with their basic values. And so I see that as a really neat thing that we can do within the movement as an action that we can take. So we're asking people to let us know when they hear about churches doing things like fishing or going to circuses as a group event, or having some sort of awful barbecue or something like that, that we could then respond by sending a letter, that's basically signed by a lot of the members of the coalition. So, so I think that's a really important part of animal rights work that we can do. Yeah.
Now, do you get a lot of pushback from people who say, oh, but, the Bible says we're supposed to eat meat, or we're put here, human beings? I think that's one we hear a lot, human beings put here as, the top of the food chain, so to speak, or the rulers of the earth. Do you get a lot of pushback from that, or how are you able to address that in your loving, compassionate way through your kits, through your interactions with the different religions?
Well, what we do is we try to provide within the kits like answers to those questions, so that people who are activists, who happen to be going into a church, they can answer. They have the tools to respond, and that's part of what we want to do, is to assist with activism, because many people have gone away from their churches and temples and synagogues. We're encouraging people to go back and then to actually interact with people there, to get to know them, to be part of the community, so people actually trust them and feel a connection with them. And then when they start to share about their animal values for animals, and that they want to have a kinship with other animals, and how important that is, and if they could please have vegan options at their different events. Jewish Veg, which is a member of our group, has a wonderful program called Vegan Option Always, and what they do is encourage a vegan option at every single event that involves food. And this is just one small way to bring vegan values into the place of worship. So there's lots of different tools that have been employed by various organizations, such as Dharma Voices for Animals. They have something called the Eyes and Ears, which is a lovely document that you can take into the temple and share with the people who are the administrators of the Buddhist temple, and ask them if are there cleaning products cruelty-free. If they're not, Dharma Voices for Animals actually helps to fund the difference in price if they want to be more compassionate with how they clean their facility. I mean, some of these things are really basic, but being able to look at how can we become more aligned with the values of compassion, rather than really criticizing them. We actually want to promote change and encourage change and celebrate the changes that they're doing, by maybe we have talked about having awards or acknowledging them on social media when different faith-based communities make these changes.
Nice. That's excellent. I can tell you from my personal experience from years ago, when I had spiritual awakening, and I started really seeking and was going to churches and, trying to find community and kind of like, where do I belong kind of thing. And one of the things at one point that really hit home for me was when I could see that what I felt, and the passion that I felt in my heart, and the yearning that I had in my heart, was not like the way I was living my life was not answering that call at all. And I started to talking to people of different faiths. There was actually, something that came about that got me talking to people of different faiths of Jewish, and I worked at IBM at the time, which was a big, brought in people from all over the world. So I had people there from all different faiths, and I ended up talking to Jewish and Hindu and Muslim and Baha'i and like all these different, and I was finding how as you mentioned earlier, how their religion is so, it's reflected in so many of their practices in their daily lives. And I was like, I love this. I love this. This is what I want. I want everything in my life to reflect the passion that I feel in my heart and the way that I truly feel called to live. And so for me, the veganism was a big part of that. And that was, a big part of the inspiration, especially looking at our animal agriculture industry and the treatment of the animals, and also the misinformation that was being spread out that was detrimentally impacting the health of so many people. And, and the marketing and the way the marketing was done and impacting children. And it was like just this whole thing of all of this stuff that was being done in the name of profit that was really harmful on so many places and so many levels. And I just said, I can't be a part of that at all. I can't give any of my energy, any of my money, any of my anything. And I there's no way. So I cut out everything. And that was like not according to the religion that I was a part of, but it was according to, I had to line up with what I felt inside. And, later when I did actually meet a spiritual teacher and who I began to study with, he was not proposing veganism, for the group. And the group was telling me, hey, he's not going to accept this from you. You've got to go talk to him. And I thought, my heart was really drawn to work with them. And I thought, well, how can this be? So I eventually did go and talk to him. And when I explained to him how passionate I felt and what I was feeling in my heart and how none of this was lining up with what I felt and I couldn't do it, couldn't be a part of it. And he was an elderly man from Jerusalem, and he stood up and he said, "This is right." And so he was very supportive in that way of, yes, this is right. You're answering the call of your heart. And and then he started teaching more, not veganism, but completely, but more aligning with the practices of our practices with food and with earth and with animals that have to align with our values. And so
wow,
this is why I think I'm particularly attracted to the work that you're doing, because when we truly, and one of the things I told him, I said, if I were to raise my own animals, I know I couldn't kill them, and I wouldn't want to kill them, and I wouldn't want that relationship, and I don't feel like I need to for my health. I don't need that. And, so I just wouldn't do it. And I think for a lot of us, it's like, and I don't want to turn a blind eye and shut that off and just let somebody else do it and let me just go buy a pretty package and pretend that didn't ever happen. So, and I think a lot of people, if they really got down to what's in the heart and what your heart is called to and why you are a part of a faith-based community, what draws you to that, then, it's a clear pathway.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
Yeah.
So,
so you did this without even having a kit.
I did it for myself, and it's a different thing for actually then being able to bring about a community. It's a part of my value and my the value of my community, but in terms of bringing it to now, organized sects of religion, that's a different story. And that's where what you're doing is really taking that support and to the extra mile, if you will, to to offer people that bridge, and that's very valuable. Yes. And yeah, you were starting to say, Judy. Oh, you're muted now.
Oh, well, I was going to comment about that. There was,
okay.
I know a lot of people who say, well, I'm vegan at heart, and I think a lot of it's their way of sharing that they do connect with the values, and inside they are vegan. That there's all the behaviors and actions on the outside that seem to fall by the wayside. So it's trying to help people realize and help people make those steps, that it's not so difficult, and maybe questioning, why, if you're vegan at heart, why not be vegan in your daily life too?
In all of your practices.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that you guys provide a kit, because, I know in my experience, and this was many years ago, because it was like 25 years ago. In my experience, still, even in the though it was a long time ago, it was a process. And, and just of recognizing, okay, here's something here that I've been taking for granted my whole life, because this is the way I've been programmed to believe and to live. And all right, I see this part, let me change this. And then, so you get comfortable there, and then you see something else and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I miss that? Let me change this, to have an actual kit that helps people to make those changes is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you're right. It does take time. I mean, you can't just do everything all at once. First, the heart changes, and then, then you start learning everything, and being horrified by what you're learning, and then realizing, and one thing we try to really emphasize is that spiritually, if you're taking action by going vegan, you're making such a huge difference. And so it's traumatic to learn all these things, but you're taking action. You're not just freezing and just being depressed. So, which is a big part of this, bringing the spirituality into this is actually another part of it. One part is engaging the different religions and trying to get people who do attend places of worship to veganize their places of worship. The other part is, and a big part of that came out of Lisa's vegan spirituality practices, is to help us be strong in the face of what is going on in the world to animals and the earth and marginalized people. And how do we deal with that? How do we face that, recognize it, and then instead of, getting depressed, taking action, figuring out what we can do as individuals. And there's so much we can do, and we need to, and it heals our heart to be doing something about it. But yeah, that was great what you did to educate him, and he affects a lot of other people because he's in a position as a teacher. So yeah, good job.
Yeah. It's interesting. I never really thought of it as educating him, but I'm glad that it did bring those, in whatever it may have done to bring those teachings to the community. Now, your vegan spirituality practices that you do, now, can you tell us a little bit about that, about what that is? And is there a way to join?
Oh, yeah, sure. So vegan spirituality really got started a few years ago when I was running Public Eye Artists for Animals in Philadelphia, and we had a member of our community. We had built a community of people who were really gung-ho about doing the arts to teach compassion for animals. So some of us would get together and we discussed, I would love to have a vegan church. I would love to have a community that I can relate to. Some of the people were in different spiritual communities, and they wanted to have that sense of camaraderie that we were having together. And so we decided, well, let's go ahead and start our own. We'll start our own vegan spirituality group. And then meanwhile, some of us had been going and experimenting and exploring like you had done at different types of faiths and traditions, and found that, there's some conflicts here. I feel really welcomed. I feel engaged with the community. And then they're having, a barbecue for lunch, and it feels like a disconnect. So we decided to put all of that together, the values of the spiritual values along with that veganism as the common bond. And so we thought, well, let's have a retreat. Let's just host one. We've been meeting for a few, months, and then we did, and we were surprised to have like 55 people show up at our vegan spirituality retreat in Philadelphia. That way back in, I think it was 2009 or something like that. So anyway, we realized there's a need in the community to feel a sense of connection to our spirituality, and that there's something also we can do about it, that approaching animal rights from a spiritual perspective also has value. It does. The practices we do to encourage meditation, to encourage self-reflection, to also encourage prayer and intention setting, to visualize the world as the place we want it to be. That popular quote by Gandhi, we have to take action. We have to be the change. We also can help to manifest the change in our own mind, because our thoughts create our reality. And when we can hold together that field of positivity and light, and also of the future, which we're creating every day with our thoughts, about that compassion will be the law of the land, compassion for all beings, and that people start to expand their circles of compassion to include beings of all shapes and sizes and species, so that is really a big part of our daily lives. And so those practices help. And the more of us together as a group that practice that intention setting, visualizing, and prayer, it can be a powerful force for change.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's how I met Lisa, was at a vegan spirituality retreat. I heard about it because Will Tuttle was going to be the featured speaker, and this one was in Malibu, right?
Yeah.
Or near Malibu. And he told me about it, and I said, I'm going. I don't care when it is, I'm going. It just really spoke to me. And so Lisa and I have been working together ever since, because I was just so inspired. And I was living in Kansas. We had an animal rights group, but no one was spiritually oriented like I was. And so it was kind of lonely. And so it really spoke to me. And we have developed a lot of things since then. And which we'll talk about the Vegan Spirituality Forum and Retreat in a little bit, but that's going to be like a mega vegan spirituality retreat, and that we hope everyone can come to. But so that's kind of the two things. One is to actually, maybe three things. One is to veganize all the places of worship in the world, and make that leap, help everybody make that leap. Oh yeah, I've always said I believed in the golden rule. And for Christians, I always did say I wanted to do what Jesus would do. And he was no doubt vegan. And so that's one thing. And then the other thing is, like we were saying, is supporting vegans who have a spiritual life. And I think all vegans do, but are just not always aware of it, because being vegan is a heart thing. And that to me is a spiritual thing. But anyway, and then the third thing is that it gives us a way to take action and align that with our spirituality, which to me, I mean, there's so many social justice movements have been based out of spirituality, and different religions getting together to end slavery, to end oppression of women and to end all of these horrible things that happen. It's often religious people. And Will was on his Asian tour not long ago, and he was saying how interesting it was that over there in like Taiwan, for example, if you say you're vegan, people say, oh, that's because of your religion. Whereas over here, if you say you're vegan, nobody connects that to religion at all. So especially here, we need to show it's totally connected. So, yeah.
Yeah. And one other funny piece to that story of how Judy and I met was that actually when she contacted me to register for the retreat, I looked at her name and then I looked down at the book that I was reading. I looked back at her name and I thought, she's the author of this book. I was reading Peace to All Beings, which is really one of my favorite books, and Judy's the author of that book. So there's lots of interconnections. It was all meant to be. And yes, maybe it would be good to chat a little bit about our upcoming event. So I've been putting together these vegan spirituality retreats and had done them in different parts of the country. We did one in Florida. We did one at the Jungle Friends Primate Sanctuary, and then we've done them we did one recently in Hawaii. And so they're wonderful ways to connect with each other and to practice, to actually spend time together doing the practices that help to manifest compassion for all beings. And this mega retreat that we're putting together, it's a vegan spirituality forum and retreat in cooperation between In Defense of Animals and the Spiritual Forum with Reverend Carol Saunders. We came together to create this opportunity. It's really the first retreat that we're doing that's a faith-based opportunity for people to get the tools that they need to go back to their communities and then practice, bring these practices, bring these advocacy tools. So that's a big part of what we're going to be doing. Judy, would you like to say more?
Sure. Yeah. We're pretty excited about this. We've got Victoria Moran is one of the featured speakers, Will Tuttle, and Dr. Milton Mills and Lisa Kammerer
from our area here. Okay.
Is that where he's from, Milton?
I think so.
Okay. And Dr. Lisa Kammerer, who has written extensively about animals and religion. And so those are our featured speakers. And then we'll have vegan meals. It'll be at Unity Village in Kansas City, which is, we don't have a whole lot of animal rights things coming to Kansas City. So that's really thrilling for me. And a lot of people here will be going. And, but Unity Village is interesting, and really Reverend Carol Saunders, who's helping us with this. Well, it was partly her and Victoria's idea to do it there because the Fillmores, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, who founded the Unity Church way back at the turn of the last century, they were pretty much vegan. And before the word vegan was around, they started a vegetarian restaurant in Kansas City back in the 1920s. So imagine that. And they spoke very, very strongly about how we could not end war in the world. We couldn't end hunger and all the other problems that they were facing back then and we're still facing now unless people stopped eating animals. And they even had part of the tenets of their religion. One of them was that very thing. We just must not harm animals in any way, use them or eat them or kill them. And so, but that phrase, that tenet was literally removed after Myrtle died and Charles had kind of turned the church over to his son. And that was removed. And ever since then, the church was no longer vegan. And that value was not promoted at all. But now we see it starting to come back. And Carol Saunders is doing a fantastic job of reaching out to other Unity ministers about this.
Oh, good.
In fact, they have a convention every summer, and we tabled at that. The Interfaith Vegan Coalition tabled at that convention last summer, and we talked to a lot of vegan ministers. I mean, of Unity ministers. Some of them were vegan. Some of them were saying, you know, we need help because we have vegan members, and we need to know, you know, how to make them feel welcome. And so we were able to talk to a lot of people, and we showed Thomas's film 2 times there. So
Nice.
that was really exciting. So anyway, that's one reason that we chose Unity Village, and it's a beautiful area, beautiful place. And so we feel like there's going to be a lot of energy from the past that's just going to start sparkling, because we're there reigniting this whole idea that all Unity's values really don't make any sense unless you're also vegan. So it's going to be quite the event.
And including with all these sparkles, we're going to have people from multiple faiths who will be doing workshops in addition to the speakers that are real nuts and bolts, like how do we get more vegan programs into our places of worship. And so Jewish Veg is going to present one. They're also a sponsor of this. And we're going to have different groups that come in and share from their perspective. So we encourage everybody to join us. It's going to be a time of collaboration as well, and brainstorming, because we're creating this new force, which is trying to affect change in the greater spiritual community. So we invite people who have an interest in this, if you're curious, to come and join us. There'll be time for self-reflection, for walking the labyrinth, for even practicing some of the spiritual tools there. We're going to have a Sunday worship service to experience what is it like to be in an all vegan centered service. So there'll be lots to experience and lots to receive from it.
Okay, now can you tell us when that is going to be?
Yes, that will be September 10th through the 13th. 2020. It's all about the 2020 vision. We're building a firm foundation for veganism in the next decade.
Excellent.
Right. And the early bird registration, which is a little lower fee, ends on at the end of February. So it would be good to go and register. And the way to do that is to go to thespiritualforum.org/vegan, and then it's a dash retreat.
Yeah, you can also go to, if you go to thespiritualforum.org, there's on their menu, there's a little tab for retreat. So you can click there and you'll find all of the registration details.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I put that in there right. I'm going to go ahead and put that into the Facebook group as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And In Defense of Animals is being a wonderful help on this also. So they're one of the sponsors, and they're handling the registration, right, Lisa?
Yeah. In Defense of Animals, which is where I work, we are co-hosting this event. And so we're putting together materials, press releases, trying to get the word out. We can definitely use your help. So if you think of anybody or know anyone you think might want to join us, please spread the word, because every time you do, it spreads it a little bit further, and maybe one person who is just waking up to veganism and wants to learn more, or somebody who's curious about how to really connect to the vegans in their spiritual community. We welcome everyone.
Yeah, awesome. And also anyone who's curious to just know, like, how, one of the things I love about hearing Will Tuttle speak is he really puts together the history of, like, how we got to where we are today, from being beings of love and compassion, to the way that the world is now, which is, seems pretty disjointed from that perspective, and all of the things that it has impacted along the way. and how it filters into the dynamics with the wealth class and with women's rights and with marginalized populations and you know, the socioeconomic and everything. And when we really look at wanting to live in a way that aligns what we love and care about in our hearts, which for most of us it is compassion, it's love, it's peace, it's justice and equality, and justice and equality, not inequality. You know, but these are all very strong values, and just living in a way that is in gentle loving kindness with all beings. Then, you know, we look at, you know, like how the industry and how the practices have impacted and affect all of these areas of life. And as well as now we're seeing, you know, very clearly is, or I say now, or maybe now I'm seeing very clearly in working with Silash and the Climate Healers Group, is how it's impacting the global warming and the planet and the future for our children as well. It's almost like when you really put all of that together, it is like when you really put all of that together, it does go against the grain of your alignment with inner truth. When you really embrace that inner truth and what your true values are, it's hard to participate or to put any energy toward the industries that support, you know, animal agriculture and animal foods, animal products of any kind, and feel like you're really living your truth. So, you know, when it goes down to that. So I know Will's going to be one of the speakers there, and I love to hear him speak. And I love the way that you all are helping to bring this in such a loving and compassionate way to the communities. And you, so for whatever reason, this won't let me copy and paste into the Facebook thing right now. I will add this link, thespiritualforum.org, thespiritualforum.org/vegan-retreat, right?
Right.
I want to try to get there. That sounds wonderful. One other thing I wanted to ask about, there is a way for people to join the Interfaith Vegan Coalition also. Is that for individuals or for organizations to join?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Actually, it is for both. So we have individuals who are motivated. If you happen to be the lone person at your place of worship thinking, how do I move us forward towards veganism? You could join us. We meet online every month, and you're welcome to just join in as an individual, or you can join as an organization. We have on our website, we have a list of our members, and those coalition members do sign on to the initiatives that Judy mentioned, such as if there's a coyote killing contest happening at a church, we will send a letter, and those people who are part of the coalition will sign on to it. So we do also try to promote one another's events. We try to share the different projects that we're doing so we can all be united. Maybe there's a wonderful event that Jewish Veg is hosting. We like to share it within the coalition so everyone knows. And we really support one another. So whether you're an organization or an individual, you're welcome to join. And you can do that. You can send an email to interfaith@idausa.org, or we have a contact us page on the website, which is interfaithvegancoalition.org. And for organizations, there's a little more of a process. We do encourage people to go through. We have written a declaration, and that declaration, we have everyone who is a member does sign on and agree to that declaration. And then we also include their logo in our materials, and Judy sends them a nice letter.
Yeah, I actually I printed off the declaration if you guys want me to read it. Or you could just go to the website, like Lisa said, and you click on members, and then you'll see the declaration there. But I can read it if you want me to.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So this is it. We, the members of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, do hereby declare that humanity has caused severe destruction to people, animals, and the earth. We believe there is still time to heal the damage and liberate all animals and the earth from human violence if human beings can awaken to our true nature. We recognize that all beings, regardless of species, value their lives, families, and friends. They want to live and be free from human domination and violence. As spiritual people who seek to align our values of loving kindness and nonviolence with our actions, we declare that we will do our part each day to create a vegan world of compassion, respect, and liberation for all beings. So that's the declaration. And if you resonate with that, we would love for you to sign on and be part of the coalition.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate both of you and all that you've shared and all that you're doing to help us all to live more consciously and aligned with the love and compassion that we wish to see in the world, to be the change we wish to see in the world. So thank you so much. And for anybody who's listening live or to the recording, hopefully I'll be able to see you all there as well at the conference, because it sounds fabulous. Sounds absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having us on your podcast. And we hope to see you and everyone else there too. It's going to be a real opening time, because we'll be awakening consciousness in the heart of our nation. So be there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. You know what? I'm sorry. I have one more question. Do you have like I have an online community, because for myself, I never could find a church that I liked, that, you know, that I really felt reflected what I wanted in a church. So I started my own community, and I do an online prayer and healing circle, you know, on Sunday mornings. I know you guys have some online things that you do as well. Do you have like any kind of database of local communities that are forming for vegan places of worship?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have two different types of communities. So I'll share about one, and then maybe Judy can share another, because we have a list of vegan churches, which Judy will tell you more about. And we also have a vegan spirituality group. So the group that I mentioned that started in Philadelphia years ago, that's still going on. And then we also started groups around the country. And how we did that is people contacted us and they said, oh, we'd like to start our own vegan spirituality group. So we set up a welcome packet with all kinds of ideas and helpful tools for people to do their own group. And then we do have some kind of loose network of support for one another. So people can take it upon themselves and host their group. We have groups that have been going for years in cities like Tucson, Olympia. Then we also have them here in Los Angeles. We started a group in Tustin, Orange County. And there are many different ones. We even had one in Maine for a little while. So these are ways that people gather together and explore veganism as a spiritual practice in their own way. Some people may be hosting earth-based events. Other people may be doing more of a support group. But we really encourage you to find a local group or start one of your own, and we can help you do that. So Excellent. You can find all that at veganspirituality.com. And you can let us know. You can email us at veganspirituality@gmail.com if you want to start a group that's spiritual based. May not necessarily be a religious based group, but it will be spiritual based. And it's a nice way to even start a local community.
Okay, you said veganspirituality.com?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sharing that one too. And like I said, I'll copy it into the Facebook group after we end, because it's not working right now.
And you can find, if you go to veganspirituality.com, you can see if there's a vegan spirituality meetup group in your town or nearby. But the other thing Lisa was mentioning was we have collected a bunch of names of vegan churches, vegan pastors, and vegan-friendly churches. And those, we have a link to that on our Interfaith Vegan Coalition page, but you can also find it by going to allcreatures.org. That's where the list actually is. and they had one to begin with, but it was kind of outdated. And so we worked together with Vita Stram there at All Creatures and got it all up to date and made sure all those churches were there and added more. So that's a really good resource, and we're always looking for more to add. So if anybody knows of any vegan churches or vegan pastors or vegan friendly churches, let us know, because that's wonderful for someone who does really resonate with a certain kind of denomination, so that they could find one, hopefully, that would also be vegan friendly, at least. So, but yeah, and then Lisa and I host, and every other month we host a conference call kind of like this, like you're doing with us, where we interview people who have an interest in spirituality and are also vegan, and talk about all the beauty of that. And that you can find through veganspirituality.com also, and sign up for those. So yeah.
One other new project that is starting that we mentioned at the beginning is the Compassionate Living Circle. So these would be ways that people can get involved by starting a group that is at their place of worship. And that's something that we have assistance from Patricia Michelson, who's helping us with that. And it's also going to be really linked up with Thomas Jackson with his film. And he's creating a whole compassionate living guide for people to follow along with the group. So there's something to suit every person's different lifestyle, whether you consider yourself generally spiritual, such as the vegan spirituality groups. You might be more aligned with the churches and find a local vegan church, or within your religious tradition, you might want to start a compassionate living circle to promote veganism and encourage that within your faith-based community.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So you guys have a lot of opportunities for people to get involved and to join you, take resources back to their own communities, as well as join you in all of the wonderful things that you have going. So I'll just say one more time that thespiritualforum.org/vegan-retreat for the retreat that's coming up in September. Okay. All right. Thank you both so much. And this time for real, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure, Debra. Thank you.
Yes, it's been wonderful. Thank you for all that you're doing, for your love, for your compassion, for your kindness, for your care for the earth and the animals. Thank you.
Thank
you,
Debra.
All who are watching and listening live or replay. Thank you for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Namaste.